Hey guys, welcome to another movie review. Today I'm talking about the film Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. This is a sequel to the 29 hit Knives Out that Rian Johnson directed back in 2019. Both this film and Knives Out are kind of an homage to the Hercule Poirot stories that Agatha Christie worked on back when she was alive. Definitely kind of the queen slash mother of the murder mystery genre, and Rian Johnson's kind of doing his own version of Hercule Poirot stories, who done it and murder mysteries, and only one, in theory, only one killer could be the person that caused the whole story to happen. And so basically, Glass Onion and Knives Out Mystery is Rian Johnson's second time with this character. I think he calls Benoit Blanc, I think is the name of Daniel Craig's detective in this, as well as in the first movie. But in this movie, though, you guys, the detective from the first film, he's invited to this party that the person who's hosting the party kind of doesn't want him to be there to begin with. But this party does have a lot of friends of his that he knew from this bar that him and his friends used to run called the Glass Onion. Kind of like Steve Jobs, this guy has since become a billionaire. He's made several different kinds of technology. There's this certain element of the earth that he feels can kind of revolutionize technology internationally. And so over the course of this film, he's kind of letting everybody know. And by the way, this guy's played by Edward Norton. And he's letting everybody know that this is going to change the way technology is and how it functions and all that kind of stuff. So basically, he invites him to this island, both the detective and all these friends. And he has this mansion that, once again, he calls the Glass Onion, based off that bar that the group of friends once formed. And while they're there, he's promising everybody that there's going to be a murder mystery of a lifetime that all of them have to solve. He won't necessarily be dead, but he won't be there to help them either with this mystery. But while that's going down, while the party's taking place, while dinner's happening with these guests, things kind of don't go right the way that Edward Norton's character planned to have this murder mystery set up didn't quite go well. There's a lot of hokey stuff. He has like fake blood for one part of it, and he has this weapon that would have supposedly got off that would have started his murder mystery, but things go wrong. An actual murder mystery does take place. So Benoit Blanc, or whatever Daniel Craig's character's name is pronounced as, has to actually solve this actual murder mystery that's taking place. There's also more going on underneath the surface. There's one of the guests at the party that Daniel Craig's character knows more about than other people do. There's a reason why she's there more so, and while he knows why she's there more so than they do as well. So the film kind of dives into that as the film progresses. But over the course of this film, once again, as a typical murder mystery fashion, the detective of the story has to solve the case. Everybody's a suspect at this party. He has to, simplify it down, basically figure out who this person was that caused this actual murder at this party and why they did it. And in typical murder mystery fashion, he has to break down for everybody the motives and the actions of this person that caused the murder mystery to occur. But overall, guys, I enjoyed Glass Onion Knives Out Mystery. One thing about the first film, and even with this film as well, is I kind of wish Rian Johnson took the approach of, I was a big Agatha Christie fan as a kid. I was an avid reader of all her novels. I was always intrigued by how different all her murder mysteries played out, how the reveals occurred, and I kind of wanted to do my own take on that, which I think he has done. But one thing I think film critics and fans of the first film did that kind of sparked some ego in him that I don't really like about these two movies is I almost feel like the work of Agatha Christie is kind of pushed to the side for these movies. Clearly he's homaging her work. Clearly he's trying to do his own version of Hercule Poirot. But what I don't like is I don't like when people say, oh, he's reinventing the murder mystery genre. He's bringing it back in any way that you wouldn't think this would be able to happen. And yet there's these Kenneth Branagh Hercule Poirot movies that are based on Agatha Christie novels that are actual her work that she put out several decades ago. And it's just kind of bothersome to me that people are saying, oh well, Rian Johnson reinvented the genre. Well, it's just kind of an homage to something that already existed that Agatha Christie already invented. And so just kind of a bash in the head to her, I think. I'm sure it made her roll in her grave a little bit when something like that happened. But just kind of a side thing that kind of does bother me about both Glass Onion and Knives Out is Agatha Christie kind of invented this first, so it is kind of a shame that Rian Johnson went the approach of, oh, well, he's reinventing the genre. But anyway, back to the movie itself. I enjoyed this movie. Kind of like the first Knives Out. I think if you enjoyed that vibe, if you like that comedy, if you like the murder mystery aspect of it, I think you'll enjoy this film as well. So let's go over some positives and negatives of things that worked for me at this movie, but things that also didn't. So first and foremost, with Glass Onion, this is a fun mystery. I had fun watching it. I had a fun time kind of piecing together what all the possible scenarios could be that's going to lead to the reveal of the movie. It's a fun mystery. There's a lot of fun characters we get to follow over the course of this film. Um, it's just a fun mystery to be had. It always kept me guessing throughout the runtime, even though by the time the reveal happened, I kind of saw it coming. But it was a fun mystery to be had, and once again, it's a nice homage to Agatha Christie's work. Not necessarily that Rian Johnson invented it, but it's a nice homage to her work. And Daniel Craig is this detective. Once again, I think he's called Benoit Blanc, but I'm not 100% sure on that. The detective he plays is a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with his role in the first film, and I definitely had a lot of fun with him in this movie. Um, he definitely has very, colorful outfits to wear. He definitely is very funny. He has a, kind of a country accent that he pursues for this character. Um, I like that he's really intelligent. I like that he's very careful about certain things. I like that he's kind of intentionally uncareful about other things that you'll find out over the course of this movie while he's trying to figure out clues for this murder mystery and stuff like that. But it's just a fun character to play. It's definitely a nice, fun change for Daniel Craig over James Bond and some other things that we're used to seeing him play. Very fun character. I had a blast watching him play this role for a second time. And overall, this is a very fun cast. We have Dave Bautista, we have Kate Hudson, we have Edward Norton, we have all these names of people that get fun things to do throughout this movie. I don't know this actress's name. I think it's Janelle Monáe or something like that. But wherever the character is, that like I said, you'll find out over the course of this movie kind of why she's there and how Daniel Craig's character knows more about her than you think he does. There's things about her character I think are really fun here. I think she even got a Golden Globe for her performance in this movie, which is understandable. It's a very fun role for this movie. But very fun cast. I definitely had a fun time getting to know all these characters in this movie. Character-wise, it's a very fun movie to find out all the neat, unique quirks of all these characters that are on this island together. The film also does create a good level of complexity. It's definitely a murder mystery where it's like, oh, okay, maybe it's going there, or maybe it's going here, or maybe it's going there. And then you find out later on maybe it's not any of those, or maybe it is one of those things that you might have thought at one point. And so I do like the level of complexity that Rian Johnson did for him for this movie. Definitely in the vein of his first Knives Out movie, which I think a lot of people will like. So it definitely creates a good level of complexity, and it makes for a fun murder mystery as a result. And overall, this is a very fun location and setting for a movie. I really liked the whole remote island with this billionaire running it, and he has all this technology available to him. He has a really nice pool. He has these voice-activated machines that can do almost anything he needs to at any given time. So definitely a very fun location, very fun setting. There's something that you find out this film takes place in 2020, and so I'll get to that in my negatives, but definitely a fun location, a fun setting, and just a fun way to bring all these characters together for this story. But for my negatives of Glass Onion, for the most part, and I think this film does this even worse than the first Knives Out film did. I don't remember the first Knives Out film having this issue as much. This film felt very drawn out to me. More so in the third act and the first two acts. First two acts were pretty okay with this, but for me, the third act in particular is just like, okay, we kind of know what the reveal is. It's kind of time to wrap things up. But the film just keeps going and going and going and going and going. And it's just one of those things where once you find out all the other footage that's left before the end credits roll, it's just kind of like, okay, we probably could have just ended this much sooner than this. And so for me personally, the third act in particular was very drawn out for me. I just felt like the film could have made its point a little bit sooner, especially once you find out what the reveal is. It's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, of course that's what the reveal is. But But yeah, very drawn out to me. I don't remember having the same issue with the first Knives Out. I remember the first Knives Out being a little bit better paced than this movie was. So that's one negative for me is I thought it was very drawn out for a story. And then going back to the 2020 thing, I thought the use of the pandemic was a very weird way to keep the story current. As long as it's within like the past 5 or 10 years of the time it was released. So it came out in 2022. If it came out within the last 5 or 10 years of that, of the year it was released, I think that's perfectly fine. I think, if anything, making it more timeless or having an attempt at making it timeless, I think would make the film age better. So it was just kind of weird that they had to incorporate the pandemic into this just to make things weird. So I thought that was a little strange. It just felt like a weird way to just keep the story current without having to do too much work. So I thought the use of the pandemic in this movie was just not a very interesting way to kind of set up for the story. And then once again, I go back to this again. The story is very much borrowed from the work of Agatha Christie. Once again, if Rian Johnson was a big fan of her stories, loved reading all her books, was a big avid reader of her stories, loved all the film adaptations before maybe he became a director of her stories, that's fine. That's cool, but I think it's important that those kind of things have to be acknowledged, because it does feel very borrowed from a lot of her work, especially how the reveal plays out. That's very much a very Agatha Christie thing to do with how the reveal occurred. So for me personally, once again, very much borrowed from the work of Agatha Christie. I think it's important that it's an homage to her work. So I thought that aspect of the story, once again, just kind of bothered me. It's just like he didn't really reinvent this genre. He's just homaging something that he really likes, which once again is fine. I think it's just important that you have to acknowledge that you're homaging something that already exists. So for me personally, that was kind of bothersome to me. And overall, I think the first Knives Out was a little bit more fun. I just remember having more fun with it. It was fun getting to know this Benoit Blanc detective. I thought the cast in the first film was more interesting. The overall scenario of the first film was more interesting. It was definitely more so. It succeeded in being an homage to Agatha Christie's work more so than this film did, which will be different. There might be some people that might want a Knives Out story that's a little bit more far out from the Agatha Christie stuff, even though they're clearly both inspired by that. But they're both very fun to me. But if I were to choose one or the other, I probably would choose the first Knives Out over this one. But overall, I'm going to give Glass Onion a Knives Out mystery, an 8.5 out of 10. There's a lot of things I really enjoyed about this movie. I do recommend seeing it, especially if you enjoyed the first Knives Out story or if you like the work of Agatha Christie. Definitely a lot of homages to her work here. But 8.5 out of 10 for me. I recommend seeing this movie. Go into it knowing it's not perfect. Like I said, it is a very drawn out movie. But 8.5 out of 10 for me. I enjoyed watching it, and I do recommend Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery.